Hi, I'm Adam Drake from Mugen Seiki Racing, and if you've seen any of our setup sheets recently for our buggy, we run kind of a little bit different shock piston setup using the MIP Bypass 1 pistons. This requires you to drill the shock pistons with multiple drill bits. So I'm going to show you the drill bits that I use and how I drill the pistons to make them consistent. So here we have the MIP Bypass 1 pistons that I typically use in all my 8-scale vehicles. These are the prototype pistons, so you won't see the MIP logo on the piston. But one of the things that I want to point out is I've seen a number of people run the piston with the wrong orientation. And if you look close, you can see there's a small step on one side and then it's flat on the other side. That step is for the stock Mugen washer to fit into. So that step always faces down. Some people, I think when they look at it, they think that step is for the stop washer to fit into, and that's not the way it's supposed to go. The stop washer has to sit on top. This way it'll hold the valve flat. If you run it with this pocket facing up, put the valve and then the stop washer, it'll actually flare the valve and you won't get the proper bypass action. So what we have is, this is a 6-hole MIP piston with 1.3 holes. So these outer 6 holes, or the compression holes, are 1.3 millimeters. These inner 6 holes are the bypass valves or bypass holes. So typically we don't touch those. We always keep them with the stock 1.5 millimeter. So if you see a setup sheet where it says 3x135, 3x145, that's just from drilling these outer 6 holes. The inner 6 holes we don't touch. So what I like to do, just to make it a little bit less confusing when you're drilling the pistons, is I'll take a silver Sharpie or a paint pen and I will mark every other hole. This way it makes it easy for you to identify and to remember which holes are 135, which are 145, or if you choose to use a different valving. So I'll start by just taking all 4 pistons, marking 3 holes because I'm going to drill these with my standard split setup. And then, so typically with the front, I run 3135, 3145. In the rear, I normally run 3135, 3150. So what I'll do is I'll take my drill bit set, which is available through amainhobbies.com. I'll try to put a link down below. This is from GMK Supply. I'll take the 135 drill bit and I'll go ahead and drill all 6 holes for all 4 pistons. And you can use a hand drill or like a small pin vise for drilling the holes. If you don't have a battery powered Dremel, I wouldn't do this with a standard Dremel. The nice thing with the battery powered Dremel is you can actually reduce the speed to where it's really slow and it makes it really nice for drilling the pistons. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and drill all 6 holes for all 4 pistons at 1.35 millimeters, and then we'll move on to the next step. So now that we have all the pistons drilled at 135, I'll now take my 145 drill bit and I will drill the 2 front pistons where I have the silver markings. You can do it however you want, but for me, I always the silver marking is always the larger hole. So I'm going to go ahead and drill the front pistons, the 3 holes on each of those pistons at 145. And then I will move on to drilling the rear pistons with a 150 drill bit, the 3 holes that are marked silver. And again, that's my standard setting for my MBX8 Nitro buggy as well as my Eco buggy. So now I've got all the pistons drilled. Kind of my next step is I'll just take a silver Sharpie or a paint pen, and now I'll just mark the piston with an R for the rear, an F for the front, again, just to make sure you don't get anything mixed up or confusion. Sometimes you're changing your pistons in a hurry and you just throw them in the top of your toolbox and you kind of forget what you've got going on. But again, this is just to kind of give a little bit of clarity. If you're not using the MIP bypass pistons that are available through Flashpoint and you're just drilling your pistons, then you won't need to worry about these bypass holes because the standard piston doesn't have those. But you can do the same thing. If you just want to run 6-hole 1-3, like that's what I use in Truggy, there's no drilling that's needed. You don't need to mark the pistons front and rear. You don't need to do anything because you're running the same piston front and rear, and the pistons come stock 6x1.3. This same kind of setup or procedure would work with the 8-hole pistons or 5-hole pistons, and pretty much with any vehicle on the market. This is just kind of the process that I use for drilling my pistons.